So let's start putting these variables to use. When we created our inputs, I mentioned that you shouldn't be using the direct commands, the direct events tied to individual keys for your permanent inputs. However, they're absolutely acceptable to use for troubleshooting. So let's get a button right now. I don't know. Let's get, we're going to get H for health. Keyboard. Typing in keyboard after lets me limit my search down. And there's H. So when we press H, we're going to set the value of health. It's going to start at 100 as determined by our parent character. And what we're going to do is subtract it by 5. We're going to also get health, and the mathematical equation we're going to undertake is going to be whatever the value of health is, currently 100, drag off that value, hit the dash key between 0 and equals, and now we can see here float minus float. We're going to plug the result into health, and we're going to plug pressed into the execution node of set. So when we hit H, this equation is going to fire off. It's going to grab our value of health, it's going to subtract 1, and it's going to set our value of health by the result, meaning that this would be 99. We're going to grab a print string. We're going to plug that print string executable through the end. You can see here that we're just going to fire off on these inline. We're going to drag the result of that setter into the in string here. It's going to automatically convert. And now, when we fire this event, we should see the results. Click the drop down, and we're going to hit 5 for the time so we can see it. We're going to compile and save, hop out of our hero character, hit play, click on the level, and now when I hit H, the value should be 99. If I hit H again, 98, 97, 96, 95, and you get the idea. We're subtracting our health. So obviously we wouldn't be the ones destroying our health. That doesn't make any sense. And in future, we're going to create an event called affect health, which is going to be called every time the enemy hits us. So if the enemy inflicts damage, then that event will be called. And we'll also distribute the value depending on how much damage it was. But that's for later on. If we go back to the isDead boolean we had before, let's get isDead. And we're going to get the setter. As I mentioned in the first video, what we want to do with these two variables is set isDead to true once our health reaches 0. We're going to get rid of this print string for now. And also, let's go and get rid of our base character print string as well, because we're not going to need it here. We'll leave the event begin play here, because we'll eventually use that. Over in here, we're going to ask a question. If you hold the B key and click, you will get this, a branch. A branch is a question. The question could be either true or false, as you can see here, based on the condition. You can plug a boolean directly into it. So if I get isDead, you could plug that directly in, and that would absolutely work. But that's not what we want to do. We don't need to ask if someone's dead. We want to check if health is below 0 and then tell that character to be dead. So let's get rid of that. So let's right click in the event graph, hit equals twice, and what we want is equal float. over here, float, equal. So if I plug in this boolean here, the branch, when fired, will base its true or false condition based on whether these two values are equal or not. So right now, 0 is equal to 0. Thus, the branch would be true. But if I was to change the value, they are no longer equal. So when I fire this, this will come out false. We want to get our health value and plug it into the top. And then we want to compare that to 0. This means when we fire H, if we plug this in here, copy this on your own project. Doesn't matter where they sit so long as they're connected. When we hit H, the first setter will get health, subtract 1, and then set that equation or that result as the new health value. Once we've done that, the next question will be fired. The branch, is the value of health equal to 0? If it's not equal to 0, it's going to do nothing because nothing's plugged in here. But if it is equal to 0, then it's going to change the isDead boolean to true. This is a very simple version of some script or some programming. These are the sorts of questions that we'll be asking all the way throughout. So let's grab a print string and test this out. And we can put as many print strings down the line as we want. I'm going to put one print string here between health and this branch, and I'm purposely leaving them out of line because I'm going to get rid of them. I like to keep my blueprints nice and neat, but in this case, I'm purposely leaving it messy so I don't forget to get rid of it in the future. Copy that print string by holding Control and pressing C while it's selected, and then paste another one over here. Plug the end in here. The first print string is going to take from the health value. You can see here that conversion is automatically done, and we can drag as many pins out of here as we want. We can have 100. I mean, that's going to look horrible, but you can do that. And then we're going to do the same thing here. Drag this over here, and there it is. Leave a little bit of room so we can see what's going on a little more clearly. Move the print string up here so we know to get rid of it. So when we hit H, health minus 1 equals health. Print the value. And then is health equal to 0? If it isn't, then do nothing. And if it is, set isDead to true and let us know. Change these values to 5 so we can see what's going on. Compile and save. Back over in your level, hit play, click on the level, and hit H. If we hit H 100 times, we should get our boolean coming up. I probably should have changed that value to something larger just so I didn't have to hit H so many times, but you can hit H as many times as you want. And 3, 2, 1. When I hit this one more time, we'll get our print string boolean saying true. We are dead. And there it is. An example of how two booleans can speak to each other through some connections and give us a result. Hit escape. We'll go back over to our hero. For the meantime, we're going to leave this here because obviously we're going to have a health bar which will tell us how much health we have. And until we have that, we'll leave it just here so we know what's going on. We know when this event is firing. Because we're probably not going to take 1 damage, let's hit 5 here. in case we want to test that out again. The only thing we're going to change in future, as I mentioned, is we're going to change this into an event. And that event is going to be effect health. One problem we will have if we keep this script exactly the way it is. If this event was firing over and over again, if the enemy was still hitting us, then when we hit 0, we will die. But then if the enemy hits us one more time and our health is below 0, this would no longer be equal, thus it would be false. This wouldn't be a problem most of the time, but if, for instance, we get hit by an enemy and we had 2 health and that enemy gave us 5 damage, we would end up with -3. So this would be saying, hey, I'm -3, which isn't equal to 0, thus this would be false and our character would be alive, even when he should most definitely be dead. We're going to solve this problem by right-clicking and typing in a left arrow by holding Shift and hitting the key next to M and the equal sign. This here is an equal or lesser node. This node will ask if the value is equal or lesser to the second value, meaning that if we had -3 health, it would still fire as true. So we're going to drag the health value over here, get rid of the equals, and drag the Boolean value up here. And just like that, now, even if the enemy hits us with 100 damage and we skip 0, we're still going to die so long as our health is equal or below 0. This is one of those little details that if you missed out on, it would be a bug in your game. So we're going to focus on all of these, as many as we can, as many as can spring to my mind, just so everyone's on the same page. Some people might be right on top of this and be like, oh yeah, I get that. And some people might need a few more explanations, or they might just oversee it, because at the end of the day, these characters are going to get ridiculously complicated. We're going to compile and save and leave that there.